So I'm just asking them which new map they want to do, and it sounds like they want to give Ghost Lake a go. So Ghost Lake is Recon's creation, and it is, I wouldn't say a direct port, but it's pretty heavily inspired by the Ghost Lake out of Age of Mythology. And it's got a mid-map you can't build on, extra herdables, really fairly short rush distance, although it's a reasonably sized map. It's not a huge map, he's sort of toned down on his map sizes. Yeah, so we're going to play Ghost Lake first. Then if the guys are up for another map afterwards, of course, we're going to do Erie's recent creation. So, go. I've got the go ahead. And so right now, Greeky versus Optimal. I should have loaded. So, spawning in the bottom right, sorry, hand corner of the map, and my camera really needs to be slowed down. That'll do. So, in the bottom right, just let me clear my lungs first. Smoking and drinking dairy products probably isn't a good idea. In the bottom right hand corner of the map, we have Greeky as the red Celts player, already taking his first hunt, and got some villagers on wood, probably looking to get an early barracks. And in the top corner of the map, we have Optimal Acorn. So he's going for a double storehouse opening, playing a little bit greedier. Greeky looks to be going up to 200 wood to start with for more of the standard aggressive opening, where you get your initial barracks before your second storehouse. So he's done that. Gonna get his wood from over here rather than over here at this point in time. So personally, that's something I like to do as well, rather than have the walking distance, which most people would do just to get the shorter travel distance there. It's pretty much neck and neck. So Optimal probably going to throw down his barracks next rather than just edging up straight away, because he's now scouted his opponent's barracks, so he's going to probably be anticipating some early aggression. And this is sort of nice to Greeky, because these lynxes are basically half a deer's worth of food each, so it's an extra deer and a half more or less, so he's managed to stack them quite nicely. Optimal, again, just having a look, make sure he wants to know basically when this first spear pops, and just know exactly how long he's got. So he's going to probably come back in now and have another look. And Greeky's actually stopped the spear just inside his own TC range. It's just outside of the scout's range. So he's probably going to mass up to 3 or 4 before he moves out. Actually, there's an age 2 already started here from Egyptians. So Egyptians and Babylonians, they take their age 2s by building a building rather than actually training villagers. So right now, Optimal getting the stone. He wants to force out an early age 2. He can actually see that there's 3 spears heading over, and he's doing a little bit of harass with his scout, so that's really smart. It's not a lot of damage per hit, it's only about 4 or 6, sorry. Yeah, it's actually 6. But it might actually force the spears to rally back, and things like that. He can pick up scouts, he can pick up sheep more easily, because the scouts fasten the spears on the way. and things like that, and he gets to know exactly when it's going to hit, how many spears, when he needs to throw up his barracks. So he's going to look at probably throwing that up as his second age finishes now. He's got the wood to do it, so he's playing this a little bit greedily, really, Optimal. In fact, he might even be looking at forcing out the town centre. He's going to lose the storehouse. And just recently, there's actually a patch, a balance patch that cut down the time for the storehouses. The build time is now only 30 seconds. I mean, only 20 seconds rather than 30. So it's really only a 70 resource investment rather than an 80 resource investment loss now. Although he needs to be careful to not lose these 2 bunches of sheep, which Greeky might find. So if Greeky finds all these, it's going to be pretty hefty food loss, because the herdables are the next most quickest. And he's going to lose 3 of them, but the scout might come through and pick them up again. No, he's going to try and have to dodge and weave all the spears and all the lynxes, so he manages to get out from the lynxes, but the spears are all chasing. He's taking his own town centre, so in a sense it's kind of nice. He's got his scout really being chased by the spears, and that also frees him up to take this town centre unopposed just yet. So now if the spears go in, it's sort of too late, and he either needs more spears or just to come back home and bide his time and wait till there's more villagers there to try and pick them off and then come back out again. So there's 3 sheep that actually did get saved in the end, and 3 that got stolen. So that's good for Greeky in a sense, because that's 300 extra food off the second fastest thing just to gather from. With your villagers, that is. Because fishing from the dock's actually quickest. Fishing with your fishing boat's quickest. Followed by hunts, followed by herdables, followed by villager fishing, followed by berries and farming. But I believe with max farming upgrades, farming's faster than berries. But with only tier 1 upgrade compared to berries is faster. So there's a barracks here. Greeky, he's invested a lot in his spears, but he sort of hasn't really gone in and dealt a great deal of damage. Optimal's been able to get on second town centre relatively unopposed at this stage. Greeky's throwing up a second barracks. Got a nice wall here with his building, so he's going to be able to protect his tree line here quite easily before he has to expand on the southern or the northern one here on the other side of his base. So right now Greeky still has a really good spear count for being able to pick off villagers really quickly. So if he comes in at a good time here, which he's about to, because Optimal's just moving on to the hunt, he might actually snipe a villager, and he's going to take the storehouse relatively quickly. So that's one of the benefits of sort of over-spearing in the early game, is that you can pretty much delete storehouses that your opponent tries to move on to as soon as they pop up, and deal a lot of more damage to the villagers than you otherwise would. He didn't really pick one off then at all, but still, Optimal doesn't have really an answer for it just yet. He's only got a couple of axemen, and before champion, they won't trade that well with spears if they're outnumbered. It's really only in 1-to-1 fights that they really just cut through the spears, because they pretty much 3 or 4 shot them. But when they're massed up, the spears can trade reasonably well, just because they're a cheap unit that you can force out earlier, because it's age 2 unit versus age 1, so a bit of a weird paving there, sort of cutting through the forest. And there's a good number of axemen now, so there's 5 axemen to 2 long swordsmen, but there is a good enough number of spears to really act as padding here and probably cut through them. So for now, Optimal's going to wait till he gets another probably 2 axemen. Yeah, because he's on 6. He's probably going to wait till he gets 7 before he goes in. And then be able to trade really well with Greeky, because the axemen are actually as fast. I think all the counter infantry in the game are 7 speed, but the only spearmen in the game that are actually 7 speed are the Celtic ones. The rest are all 6 speed, I believe, and so are Sparabara. So that's where Celts really have their advantage. It's not so much in their damage, although it's reasonable damage. They are at a significant health disadvantage to most of the other spears. So it's really the movement speed where they shine, because they can hit and run, got good snare, and until the most recent balance patch in Persia v Celt spears could hit and run really, really well, and they couldn't be snare locked by a single Sparabara. So Greeky, really expanding up behind this, maximizing the space he's hanging out with his base safely. So Optimal, on the other hand, has got a really defensive TC setup where the second town center actually acts as a nice big watchtower or fortress over the rear side of his base. So Greeky in the meanwhile is opting to defend gold, another woodline. There's even a hunt here and berries, so really nice second town center greed play from Greeky. And meanwhile Optimal's really good defensive option for him. So right now we've got another storehouse being sniped and Greeky moving back out again. And on the other side he's actually sniping another storehouse of Optimal. So Optimal is being denied any opportunity to get on the hunts. So he's really had to make use of the pickers upgrade and hasn't had an opportunity to really use hunting dogs at all, which I think Greeky might have already used by now. So if Greeky's just playing carefully, massing up 3 forces to try and lock Optimal in position here. This is really good use of the Celt army actually. So he's going to deny another structure, another storehouse of Optimals, pick off the villager and get back out in time, only taking a minimum amount of TC fire. Parked over here on the other hunt, and Optimal is sort of forced to just mass up and try and pressure one of Greeky's armies somewhere or just run directly into his base. So I think Optimal's actually going to do that, run right across the map with everything and defend with the minimal amount and force Greeky to have to pull back all of his armies and combine them as well. So this massive axeman is really having to force a massive longswordsman response. And the spear longswordsman army is no doubt the one that's staying because it can't really take a direct fight, but it's going to be able to do the same sort of hit and runs. So right now, a whole bunch of villagers. That's 13 or 14 villagers being garrisoned up there. So a long swordsman to a lot of axemen at the moment, so 24 to 28, but there's TC fire as well. So the axemen are going to have to be the units to back off out of this trade at the moment, although they've denied the barracks coming out, and a whole bunch of structures now being thrown up, as well as the workers leave the TC. So another attempt here from Optimal. Going to deny a whole bunch of villagers on the gold now. There's 10 villagers here that are a little bit further positioned away from the TC, but there just isn't the spearman. I mean, it just isn't the axeman count anymore. And meanwhile, back at home, Optimal has also got to dodge and weave his army and try and make use of his TC fire to pick off some of these units of Greeky. No doubt trying to have to click the TC to try and maximize the amount of range it's got out of that. If you actually select fire, it's an extra 1 unit of range. So villagers again being forced off the hunt, and that's about the 6th storehouse of Optimal's being denied at this stage. So Greeky in a really nice spot right now. He's really forced his opponent back. He's only lost a fairly minimal amount back at home in response to this, whereas Optimal is now down by probably about 4 or 5 villagers and about 6 or 7 storehouses by now, thanks to the aggression of Greeky. So he's really started to embrace the Celt early aggression and is working wonders with it. He's going to deny his stables here, so this is really nice pickup as well. Optimal is sort of forced to have to hunker down with the axeman again and try and maybe force out the stables on the other side of his base somewhere. So he's finishing one off. I think he's throwing down one over on... Oh no, it's just a market. So he's hitting a defensive market to be able to shuffle through his resources and maybe try and take a more aggressive sort of third base and then use that as the market line, with the market more at the backside because it's the weaker structure. It doesn't have any form of damage itself. So right now there's a big mass of the longswordsman. I think that's a GG. Yeah, so both players macroed that extremely well, but Greeky just with a real edge on the aggression there, just punishing Optimal several times on both sides of his base with the hunts. Optimal responding with a fairly nice aggression himself, but not being able to maximize what he could out of it, and Greeky with a really quick response, minimizing his villager losses, and I think that was just a really good game. It would be nice to see one on Tundra now, I think. So I'll actually go to the stats quickly. So Yeah, so there was actually 9 buildings in the end picked off by Greeky. Really crucial in slowing down Optimal Acorn's economy and getting himself in a position where he could just push him with nearly 60 longswordsmen versus only about 35 axemen. And yeah, Optimal has to tap out.